The fragrance of selfless love that has drawn the world into one family. The truth of an eternal message that has been revealed through every act and word. The fulfillment in service that has been taught by relentless sacrifice. The Lord's own life is indeed His message.
Sai Ram. Greetings and welcome to the 20th episode of our ongoing tele-serial entitled The Message of the Lord. Today, we shall discuss those aspects of Swami's compassion that we have not dealt with so far. Now, compassion is one of the noblest of all human feelings. And that is because, firstly, it is totally selfless. Secondly, it gushes forth from one's heart like a torrent, just like God's love. Thirdly, it puts itself into action immediately, brushing aside all other considerations. And finally, it shines best when man seems to despair and be helpless.
These are attributes of divinity, and if any human being shows such qualities, it only means that that particular individual has allowed God to manifest in full glory through him or her, as the case may be. In this episode, we shall offer some glimpses from Baba's life, highlighting the deeper meaning of compassion. We start with a simple incident in Swami's life when he was just Satya. One day, a beggar came, stood before Satya's house and cried out for food, saying he was terribly hungry. Satya ran in, brought some food from the kitchen and gave it to the hungry man. Later, when Mother Ishwaramma asked Satya why he did that and how she was going to manage the shortage of food that Satya had created, the conversation went on as follows. Mother, don't bother about me. I have already eaten. You have already eaten? How can that be? I have not served the food to you. Mother, you do not understand. When that old man ate, it means that I have eaten too. The lessons that Swami taught as a young boy through this incident are: when there is a distress call, respond immediately. When you serve the one who is calling for help with the feeling that you're serving God, you would be serving and helping yourself. That is because the same God is in all. If you merely give charity, you see the receiver as different from you. But when you show divine compassion, the one who serves and the one who is the so-called beneficiary merge into one. That is why Satya declared that when the old man ate, it was the same as he eating himself. That is the deep spiritual lesson that Satya taught, and in such a simple manner. Swami always makes highly complicated things so simple that even a child can understand. Let us move on and cut to a later period when Swami travelled a lot and went to various places. Many decades ago, during a trip to Bombay, Swami gave darshan to prisoners. He watched these boys getting practical experience in a workshop and also gave a lot of joy to the spastics. Let's now cut to Chennai, formerly known as Madras. Swami went to medical camps, interacted with women engaged in spinning, and even visited a paper factory just to please a devotee. All these are subtle manifestations of his limitless, endless and non-stop compassion, but we seldom see it that way. In the early 70s, there was a big flood in Puttaparthi that left many villagers homeless. In fact, they did not even have a shelter. Swami then took them into the ashram and let them stay there till the flood subsided. Later, Baba built a colony called Sai Nagar, which is not only still around, but has actually prospered and improved. In the 70s or so, there was a massive cyclone that swept through Krishna district and caused a lot of havoc. Swami immediately organized disaster relief. Late Mr. Kasturi gave a fascinating account of it all in his monumental biographical series Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Let's move on to the year 2001, when on the morning of 26th January, celebrated in India as the Republic Day, there was a massive earthquake in Gujarat. The quake, which was about 8 on the Richter scale, killed about 20,000 people, injured about 170,000, destroyed about 400,000 homes, and left more than 500,000 homeless. Swami was in Vrindavan, Bangalore at that time, and when he heard the news, he became deeply concerned and immediately started organizing relief. People may say people suffer in many ways, including due to natural calamities, due to past karma. Karma is mandated by God and must be allowed its play. It cannot be interfered with. Well, what these people are trying to do is to find a clever argument to excuse themselves from giving disaster relief. Just ask them, suppose your mother is found to have cancer. Would you just sit around saying, it is all karma, she has to suffer? Clearly you would not. Instead, you would be running around to see how you can secure the best treatment for your mother. That being the case, why this difference in attitude? Swami was quite clear that since people were suffering badly, help ought to be sent to them immediately. By the way, Baba's point regarding the karma angle is as follows. Yes, karma does lead to suffering. However, the scriptures do not say that you are not supposed to help people in distress. In fact, you should. And that really is what compassion, duty, and helping others are all about. Karma is something between the individual and God. But the dictates of dharma do not ever forbid giving help and assistance to those who are suffering. On the contrary, it is your duty to help whenever possible, to the extent possible, no matter how small the help is. Getting back to the Gujarat earthquake, instructions were promptly sent to Puttaparthi and relief for the quake victims was quickly organized. A convoy of trucks carrying relief supplies soon left, with more trucks joining the convoy on the way in Hyderabad. Swami not only sent relief, but also a senior person, namely Mr. Chiranjeevi Rao, to stay at the disaster site as long as was necessary, personally supervise the distribution, and to do all that was required to wipe the tears of the suffering people. That is Baba. He does not merely send goods, but also his love. When Mr. Rao reached Gujarat, he was promptly contacted by the members of the Gujarat wing of the Sai organization. Mr. Rao was taken aback by what he saw. Mr. Rao noted that most of the relief effort, and there sure was a lot of it, was focused mainly on the big cities. Many small towns and villages had also suffered, indeed much more, but few bothered about them. Secondly, the NGOs who were supposed to be distributing relief simply threw blankets and food packets at the quake victims as if they were dogs begging for food. Most of the victims were teachers, lawyers, doctors and so forth who had lost everything. In a few seconds, they were left with nothing except their lives. And they strongly resented being treated like beggars instead of being treated with sympathy, respect and consideration. Guided by state officials, Mr. Rao and his trucks promptly left for a much neglected rural area and established a camp near one of the many tent cities that had sprung up. There they spent a considerable amount of time distributing all sorts of relief material and offering love and comfort as only Swami's special chosen representatives can do. There were sevadals who were even combing the hair of tiny boys. Swami's volunteers were not mere couriers delivering rice, wheat, cooking oil, blankets and stuff like that. They were agents of mercy and compassion, bringing the love of Swami and his personal and direct message, "Why fear when I am there?" Today, there are plenty of NGOs all over the world engaged in all kinds of assistance and relief work. All of them mean well and also do a lot of good work. But a good percentage of them have two major deficiencies. Firstly, most of the workers are salaried employees. Secondly, and this is more important, out of every $1, only a small percentage actually reaches the beneficiaries as aid or assistance. The rest is consumed in overheads, which starts with simple things as running the office, all the way to expenses incurred for paying the relief workers to stay in big hotels, hire air-conditioned cars and so on. Swami's volunteers, on the other hand, are always expected to work with the feeling that they are the messengers of Sai, giving the suffering people a taste of Sai's love and compassion. Let us now turn to another major disaster which was truly international in scope and almost global in scale. We are referring to the tsunami that was triggered by a massive earthquake under the sea of the coast of Sumatra on the morning of 26th December 2004. The tsunami wave that resulted swept across the ocean and affected many countries. Thus, it caused unbelievable damage in many countries, starting with Indonesia. The tsunami then struck Thailand. Sri Lanka was next on the hit list. After Sri Lanka, it was India next. Indeed, the effects were felt as far away as on the east coast of Africa. In India, 3 regions were affected, but of these, the impact was most severe around a small region called Nagapattinam in South India. Chennai city was one of the first places to be affected in India, and almost immediately, the local Sai organization swung into action without waiting for any instructions. But when word about the massive damage near Nagapattinam reached Swami, relief operations took on a new dimension. To start with, the Seva organization moved to assist in a massive way, starting with the difficult task of removing hundreds of corpses stuck all over the place. No one wanted to even touch these dead bodies, neither the civil authorities nor the other NGOs. They were ready to distribute relief material, but not be involved in the cleanup operations, which was plain dirty and hazardous work. Taking tetanus shots, Sai volunteers did monumental cleanup work, including that of removing as many dead bodies as possible. In every case, whatever the Sevadals found on the body, like a chain or wallet or watch or whatever, they gave them to their leader, who made proper lists and handed them over to the authorities as required. Next, food aid to victims was immediately organized, and so touching was the experience that many officials joined on their own. Even some of the policemen wore Sevadal scarves and got busy in distributing food. That is the magical chemistry that Swami always works on those who do his work. Meanwhile, as in the case of Gujarat, large-scale relief material sent by Baba reached Chennai, where it was sorted out and packaged for distribution in the various affected areas. Again, as in the case of Gujarat, Swami sent a personal representative from Puttaparthi to supervise all the operations. This time, it was Mr. Chakravarti, the secretary of the Sri Satya Sai Central Trust himself. The scriptures declare that God rushes to help those who call and also to those who are too shocked and pained to call. That is Swami's nature, and it has always been so. His compassion is not only limitless, but never switched off. Only, people do not notice how much Swami helps all the time. They become aware of God only when disaster strikes them personally. How sad and unfortunate.
समा है, ईश्वर प्रेम है। हर धड़कन में साई समा है, ईश्वर प्रेम है।
We now move on to the year 2008, when a massive flood affected the state of Orissa on the east coast. Now, Orissa has been well endowed by nature with natural resources of various kinds. But alas, the people of the state have mostly been mired in poverty before independence as well as after. Poor people seldom receive attention, in good times as well as bad. Yes, when there is a massive disaster like a flood, urban dwellers do see a bit of the floods on the television. They also see some photos in the newspapers. People then express some sympathy and thereafter promptly go about their own business. Not so in the case of Swami. When he first saw some photos in the newspaper and then some more pictures taken by Sai volunteers who had rushed in as first respondents, he was deeply moved. Bhagwan Baba then asked for details and was told that thousands of people had lost their homes. Almost all these were poor people.
भगवान घर घर बिजुली भल मंद सब होची आम ये कष्ट भोगुचु कहीं कष्ट भोगौच जदि जन्म देच जन्मदाता ताले मारी दियो आमको आते कष्ट देख लाभ ना कि बन्या समय आम तो समस्त राति शोलु अवस्था हठात हठात पा आसला जो पा आसला आम समस्त कार उपाय नाला से कह सुखिला मुड़ी दिटा चूड़ा दिटा एमती धरिकी समस्त पलि आसलु गोटे जो तेयार आश्रय स्थल गोटे थी से पलि आसलु किसी खाइबा जिनस ओदा जिनस केवल खंडे लेखा शाढ़ी पिंधलु से आनी नथलु तापर धीरे धीरे बन्या छाड़ीगला आम घर द्वार सब किसी ना सब भांगी जाए किसी भी आउ जिनस पतर ना।
Swami could take it no more. Promptly he ordered the building of 700 houses for the dispossessed.
He has decided, out of his mercy and his love, that immediately a sum of rupees 10 crores will be given to the state of Orissa for construction of new houses for all those people who have lost them.
Work started immediately, and as always, Swami sent supervisors, a father and a son team, to go to Orissa and personally supervise the construction. They in turn reached out to devotees with the required professional experience in civil engineering who had retired and were willing to do seva or service. That helped a lot to make sure that there was quality supervision at every place where construction was in progress. It must be mentioned here that the 700 houses authorized for construction by Baba were spread over several districts and in villages most affected by the floods. Swami gave special instructions to make sure that the houses were so built that in future water would not enter the houses as it had done during the recent floods. Did you see that? That man was pointing out to the mark left by the flood waters. Hence, while building the houses, Swami's engineers made sure to raise the level of the plinth wherever needed. The first batch of 200 houses were completed within 4 months, and all the beneficiaries made a pilgrimage to Puttaparthi to receive the keys to their new homes in the divine presence. There you see the beneficiaries arriving in Puttaparthi to see a dream coming true. Here they now are, assembled in the Sai Kulwant Hall, waiting for Swami. And here he comes, their saviour, who rushed to their help even though most of them did not know anything about him. Has not Swami said, "Call me by any name, and I shall respond as long as you cry with love and passion for me"? Here we see the pilgrims from Orissa receiving blessings from Bhagwan Baba and the keys to their apartments and some gifts as well. And now, take a look at these people settling into their new homes. In all, Swami has built 700 houses. And while the first batch of beneficiaries travelled to Puttaparthi to receive the keys, all the others got their keys after simple functions in Orissa itself. Everything happened quietly and without fanfare. No big meetings, no media blitz or gala PR campaign. There were no political heavyweights making bombastic speeches and so on. Pure compassion does not work that way. It is pertinent to note once more that there are many big companies in Orissa having huge industrial operations, mostly connected with exploiting natural resources, mining in particular. It is symptomatic of the times that big companies, while exploiting the natural resources of Orissa and making a lot of money in the process, felt hardly any sympathy for tens of thousands who had lost practically everything they had during the massive floods. These people, who were poor to start with, became literally destitute after the flood. This is nothing unusual. In many parts of the third world, big multinational corporations exploit natural resources and make a huge profit. But do the people of the region to whom the wealth really belongs get any benefit? Hardly ever. Take a look at what is happening in Nigeria, which on paper is very rich since it is literally floating on oil. What is happening here is nature's gifts are being picked by a few for their profit, leaving the locals largely where they were, that is, as poor people.
We people in corporate sector exploit natural resources and pay for it. If we make some profit, it's all part of business according to established rules. The poor remain poor because of the local administration. The people there are corrupt and they swallow all the money the country gets.
There is some truth to this, no doubt. But it is also a fact that the multinationals pay a pittance to the poor countries while taking away their resources, which ranges from uranium and gold to copper, iron, oil, wood, and so on. Call it by any name, there is exploitation. That is why it is all the more sad that the corporate bigwigs become very scarce when there is a massive disaster, as happened, for example, at the time of the famous Bhopal tragedy. But we shall not go into all that. Instead, we shall return to Swami's teachings and example.
Satya, the truth, is niti, the morality. Dharma, righteousness, is khyati, there lies the repute. Tyaga, sacrifice, is jyoti, the light. The unity of these three, truth, righteousness, sacrifice, is manava jati, the human race.
Satyamu, Dharmamu, Khyati, Jyoti అనేటువంటిది మర్చిపోతున్నారు.
Men have forgotten the truth is the light, righteousness is the light, sacrifice is the light of life.
ఇది సమాజం కోసం కాదు.
It's not for the sake of society.
నీ నిమిత్తమై నీవు ఆచరించాలి.
You have got to adopt and follow for your own benefit.
నీవు అందరినీ గౌరవించాలని ఆశిస్తావు.
You expect to be respected.
కాదు కాదు, నిన్ను నీవు మొట్టమొదట గౌరవించుకోవాలి.
First, respect yourself.
ఆత్మ గౌరవమే మానవునికి ఆధారమైనటువంటి యొక్క పునాది.
Self-respect is the very basic foundation of human life.
ఈ ఆత్మ గౌరవమే లేకుండా మానవుడు ఇతరులు ఏ విధంగా గౌరవించగలడు?
A man without self-respect is not expected to respect others.
ఇతరులు ఇచ్చేటువంటి గౌరవానికి కాచుకోవడానికి కూడా వీలు ఉండదు.
It's not possible to expect respect from others.
మొదలు నీవు ఇతరులను గౌరవించు.
First, you respect others.
నీవు ఇతరులను ప్రేమించు.
You love others.
నీవు ఇతరులకు తగినటువంటి హృదయాన్ని అందించు.
You share your heart and the sentiments with others.
ఇది నీ ప్రధానమైనటువంటి యొక్క కర్తవ్యం.
This is your main duty.
Money is not the most important resource that is needed. It is compassion. When there is no compassion, all the money in the world can do little good. God has given humans a lot of capital to get started, like so many natural resources, great intelligence and so on. But what are humans doing? What is the norm these days? In most places, a few manage in some way or the other to corner most of the wealth at the expense of the masses. That is unfair and adharmic. While adharma has to be eliminated in its own way, Baba says it does not mean that everyone should just sit around and wait for someone else to carry the burden. That is simply not going to happen. Those who can and those who command wealth are so busy with their own matters that unless good people intervene on a large scale, the sufferings of the poor would continue to mount and become even more unbearable. Taking this cue, Sai devotees are doing all that they can all over the world. By doing disaster relief projects, Swami is essentially telling us, "Oh man, if you are in deep difficulty, would you not like someone to rush to your help? In the same way, should you not do so when your fellow human beings are in deep trouble? Have I not said again and again that all are one, be alike to everyone? It is to demonstrate the spirit of those lessons that I try and help whenever I can. You too must do the same. Compassion is infinite and can never dry up. If you are serious about your love for me, then show the world that by following Sai, the world can be changed." Life is a gift of God and has been given so that we can spend it by loving God. Loving God does not merely mean saying in chorus, "We love you, Swami." It means constantly remembering Swami and giving God alone a place in our hearts. The Bible says that man can either serve Mammon or God and not both. Swami also says the same. The heart is a single seat sofa. You can either place God on it or the devil.
And do you know the simplest and easiest way to do that? All we have to do is to live our lives with the same spirit that Swami does. That is, by filling every moment with love and compassion. Now, compassion can be in many ways, big and small, but what matters is not the size, but the quality of love that goes into the service. That's all we have for this episode today. Hope you're enjoying this series. Do be back with us tomorrow. Jai Sai Ram.